What is up, everybody? This is Crazy Wharf back with another video, and today I will be discussing the last of 5 parks I visited while I was in California. This is Knott's Berry Farm in Buena Park, California. I visited this park for one day, and wow, what an amazing park. I felt so sad having to leave this place. I really had an amazing time here. If I ever came back to Southern California, I would 100% come back to this park. You cannot skip this place. It's one of the most themed parks I've ever seen, definitely the most themed park in the Cedar Fair chain, and this was my first ever Cedar Fair park. And coming out of this place, I have high hopes for the other Cedar Fair parks I've yet to go to, like King's Dominion, Kings Island, Worlds of Fun, Valley Fair, California's Great America, Dorney, and of course, Cedar Point. If you want to see the park's theming, just look at GhostTown alone. That place is the coolest area of the park. They themed it to look like an actual ghost town. They have walk-around characters that you can interact with. They even have a railroad there. It's all so cool. But I'll talk more about that later. Like most of the Cedar Fair parks, Knott's Berry Farm does have a water park named Soak City, but it's located on the other side of the street, and it does require a separate ticket to enter. So I did not visit Soak City, so that will not be discussed in this review. This park is currently home to 10 roller coasters, and I got the opportunity to get on 9 of them, the one exception being Silver Bullet, because it was under maintenance when I went. And funny story, Pony Express was also supposed to be closed, but as I was in line for Voyage to the Iron Reef, which is their Triotech, I saw a train go on it, and I flipped out because I was thinking I would miss the credit. So I actually ran out of the line and went towards Pony Express, and I got in line for front row, only to have it break down. But then it actually reopened about 30 minutes later, so then I got to ride it, and when I got off, the ride broke down again, and it didn't open for the rest of the day, so I got very lucky. As for the coaster itself, it was fine. Definitely wasn't worth waiting in line for 30 minutes, though, but it was okay, because I actually had fast lane for this park, so I didn't have to wait too long for the rides. Actually, now that I think about it, the longest I waited in line the entire day was when I was in line for Xcelerator, because I was in line for the front row seats. And I'd say it was worth it, but I didn't wait in that line again, so I only rode Xcelerator once. Now, this park isn't all throw rides. There are some family rides around the park, and some for the kids, and they even have rides for the toddlers, so there's something for everyone here. And when you think about it, this is like halfway between Magic Mountain and Disneyland, because this place balances the kid rides with throw rides, unlike Magic Mountain, which is pretty much all extreme rides, and Disneyland, which is mostly family and kiddie rides. Like every other park in California, the parking lot is located in a weird location relative to the park, because the actual entrance to the park is located right off the road, so there wouldn't be any room for a parking lot in front of the park. So like Six Flags Magic Mountain, it's located on the side of the park, so it takes a good 10 minutes to walk to the entrance, unless you park in the west parking lot and take the western entrance. When you walk up to the park, you see its gorgeous entrance with Silver Bullet's Cobra Roll. It just looks amazing. The first time I saw it, it felt so surreal. Like, I couldn't believe I was actually finally coming inside of this park. It was amazing. The park is divided up into 4 main areas, and they all look really nice. The theming in all of them is amazing. You can tell what area you're in just by looking at the architecture. Now, naturally, you could enter through GhostTown, but I decided to start off in their kiddie area. Now, most Cedar Fair parks have Planet Snoopy as their kiddie area, but Knott's Berry Farm instead has Camp Snoopy, and it's themed nicely, just like all the other areas. It's themed to a camp in the middle of a forest, and I like to think that the rides there are like the camp activities, because rides such as Rapid River Run are themed to rafting, and Timberline Twister is themed to mountain hiking. And about the rides here, there's plenty of them, and they all are placed perfectly. This is where you'll find most of the kiddie rides, as well as their spinning coaster, Sierra Sidewinder, and their kiddie coaster called Timberline Twister, which you don't need a kid to ride, but you do need to be under 69 inches. But even though I'm over that, I still got to ride it. And that was a very aggressive kiddie coaster, might I add. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. It was amazing. Anyways, they also have a Mexican-themed area called Fiesta Village, which is where you can find their Schwarzkopf shuttle loop, Montezuma's Revenge. You can also find Soul Spin, La Revolution, and Jaguar, which I wasn't that big of a fan of, but I will admit it has the coolest queue of any coaster at Knott's. It just looked so cool, especially for an all outdoor coaster. They have this neat looking pyramid housing the ride's entrance, and it's satisfying just to look at. The ride also interacts with a lot of the other park's attractions, most notably Montezuma's Revenge. When it goes through its loop, it is so cool. This is also the area where you'll find the park's merry-go-round, their dragon swing, and a few other notable flat rides. They also have an area called the Boardwalk, which is their newest area. And that's something you'll notice with this park. You can really tell which areas are newer than others, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. This area is, of course, themed to a boardwalk, and it looks great. They have some Larson flying scooters, and those are very cool. They have a scrambler. It's also where their Mock Wild Mouse Coast Rider is, and I wasn't a big fan of that one. And that's also where their newest coaster is, HangTime, the only dive coaster in California, at least until Mako at SeaWorld San Diego opens. HangTime was actually very surprising, but I'll go into greater detail about that in the HangTime review. Also, this is the area where Xcelerator is located, but instead of it having a boardwalk theme like the rest of the land, it has a 1950s hot rod theme, which I thought was kind of odd. They have a store theme to a gas station right next to it, and then there's a few other things related to that around the area where Xcelerator is, which the park has dubbed the Xcelerator Strip. So it's almost as if it's a smaller miniature land of the boardwalk. And of course, they have the legendary GhostTown. This is one of the coolest areas of the park. It's of course themed to an old western town. They have characters that you can interact with. They even have a stagecoach with real horses called the Butterfield Stagecoach, and it's really cool. This is where they have Ghost Rider, Pony Express, Silver Bullet, and new for 2019, they received Calico River Rapids, which is a retheme of the old Bigfoot Rapids. But I can't say anything about that because I didn't get to ride it, because I went in March before it opened. Now, this park does have a few other attractions besides roller coasters. They do have a lot of kids rides over in Camp Snoopy, which I think is great. And there's also a few other kid rides spread out around the park, which I think is a nice idea, because when you go into another area of the park, there's still something for everyone to enjoy. They even have a horse and carriage ride called Butterfield Stagecoach, which I just mentioned, which is just so unique. In my opinion, this is a great park to start with getting into roller coasters. There's so many family coasters here, which is great for the little kids to get into some of the bigger coasters. Look at rides like Jaguar, Coast Rider, Pony Express, Sierra Sidewinder, and to an extent, Timberline Twister. And they also have a great beginning inverting coaster with Montezuma's Revenge. I'd say it's a great coaster to start with to get into inversions, along with New Revolution. It's got the one inversion, however, it does go through it backwards too. And because the park is landlocked, some of these rides are so compact, such as Jaguar, which pretty much circles all around Fiesta Village, and Silver Bullet circles around many parts of the park. Naturally, my favorite ride in the park was Ghost Rider, however, Xcelerator was a very close second. And I didn't even enjoy just the coasters, they also have some amazing dark rides. They have the famous Calico Mine Ride, which I thought was the coolest attraction at the park. And you even have one of the best themed log flumes in the world, Timber Mountain Log Ride, which is currently my #1 log flume in the world, so don't overlook those two attractions. They also have an S&S triple shot drop tower in the boardwalk area called Supreme Scream, which I didn't do, but if you like drop towers, they do have one. Or if you don't feel like doing something as tall, you always have Woodstock's Airmail. This park also has great atmosphere. The atmosphere and theming in this park is top notch. Everywhere you look, there's some kind of theming. Parts of the park are covered by trees, and it gives off this forest feel, especially when you're in Camp Snoopy, where it's supposed to feel like you're at the edge of the Sierras. Even the rock work on this park is breathtaking, especially on a ride like Timber Mountain Log Ride, where it makes it look as if you're actually traveling in and out around this mountain. And even on Calico Mine Ride. The rock work really helps you feel like you're actually inside of a cavern, and of course I already mentioned Ghost Town and its old town theme. You just can't enjoy the park without admiring the theming at least. The next thing I want to talk about is the food. Let me just say that out of all of the park food I have ever had at a park, none of it has ever been as good as the food at Knott's Berry Farm. You cannot visit Knott's and not eat at Miss Knott's Chicken Dinner. When I went, we got a big serving of hot buttermilk biscuits. And for the meal, I got a cherry rhubarb with creamy chicken noodle soup, sweet kernel corn, mashed potatoes, boysenberry pie for dessert, which let me say, that's some good pie right there. And of course, the famous Knott's chicken. That is some of the best chicken I have ever had in my life. It's so good. If you're going to eat anything at Knott's, eat here. Outside of the restaurants, I also had a boysenberry muffin from the Starbucks across from Voyage to the Iron Reef. And I also had this delicious boysenberry icy. And let me say, that's officially my new favorite icy flavor. You have to try it when you go. I serve them at this small food place in GhostTown and also at the Cave Inn right across from Grizzly Creek Lodge and Camp Snoopy for about $6. And of course, they have the boysenberry fruit punch. And that's a thing you'll notice about this park. They really love their boysenberry. They have a lot of things themed to it. They even have the boysenberry festival, which was not there when I went. But from what I hear, there are so many boysenberry dishes during it. And you can get tasting cards and go around and try all these dishes, which again shows how much this park loves boysenberry. If you want to attend the boysenberry festival, it usually occurs from late March to near the end of April. In one of the stores in California Marketplace, they even sell boysenberry syrup and boysenberry butter, both of which I did buy, and that stuff is delicious. Moving away from that, let's talk about the staff. Let me just say, the employees here are really nice. They genuinely feel as if they enjoy their time in the park, and it's hard to not have a good time at this park in general. They're super helpful, and they are not rude in the slightest. Now, before I finish this review, I just want to talk about the operations at this park. For the most part, the operations at this park aren't great. Dispatches on some of the rides can take between 1 to 5 minutes. Xcelerator, for example, took about 3 minutes to dispatch, which explains why I had to wait 70 minutes to ride it. And on top of that, it was running one train, but right across from it, Coast Rider had 30-second dispatches almost every time, which was amazing. So the dispatches and operations here are very mixed. So if you ever find yourself in Buena Park, California, definitely visit this place. This is one of the greatest amusement parks that I've ever been to. And I think if you visit this park, you'll have the same opinion. But you know, that's just what I think of Knott's Berry Farm in Buena Park, California. Let me know what you think of this park in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.